Good morning. In accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. My name is Larry Clay and I will be chairing today's session. Panel members today are Peter Reid, Paul Gauguin, Zahir Bayat, and Nazila West. Our DST this morning is Sabrina Salentino. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on as a traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid in-person and virtual format. Some applicants and participants will make their submissions in person, and others will participate virtually by electronic means through WebEx. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer, telephone, and have the option of participating via video or audio only. When your item is called, you will be unmuted by the moderator. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. People attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request by decision by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Body or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third-party parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons and public bodies are permitted to appeal decisions of the Committee of Adjustment. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. Today, I'll call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you are reaching the 5-minute mark. Any presentation or other materials you wish to submit to the committee must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept materials at the hearing. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee on the application. Then, individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Generally, we call on the speakers in the hearing room first and then those participating through WebEx. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. And when all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent has an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion and the application will be taken into the committee for decision. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, are there any minutes to adopt?
Through you, Mr. Chair, none for today.
Any declarations of interest in this morning's session from committee or staff? No. Seeing none, are there any deferral requests for this morning?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there are no items to be closed for this morning. And yes, there's one request, item number 128 Morton Road, file number A0925/22TEY. The sign was not posted.
Okay. All right, well, we'll deal with that one right off the bat.
Yes.
Okay. So I will just read this into the record. This is an application for 28 Morton Road. This is an application to alter the existing two-story detached dwelling by reconstructing the front porch canopy and the second story, and to construct a rear two-story addition with a rear ground floor deck and a second-story balcony. The committee has before it a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a total of 5 photographs of the subject property, a deferral request from the agent. We have an advisory report from Metrolinx, and we have opposition from a number of surrounding properties on Beck Avenue, Morton Road, and that is is the two streets where most of these correspondence are located from. So,
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online as well as 9 registered speakers in opposition, but we will deal with the deferral request because the sign wasn't posted. It's a lack of notification. So we'll unmute the agent at this time to speak to that.
good morning, Mr. Benzowski.
Morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, committee.
You've requested a deferral for the purposes stated by Sabrina. The sign was not posted properly?
Yes, the owners did not post the sign.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have anyone in the room speaking on this item? If you want to come up to the front and please, in sequence. And just give us, if you could just give us your name and address. And I'm just going to ask you specifically whether you are in agreement or don't agree with the deferral request. And I'll put in the context that this is pretty much an automatic because notice wasn't properly given.
Yes, I understand. My name is Mitchell Shore. I live at 30 Morton Road. I am the next door neighbor to 28 Morton Road, and I disagree with the deferral. We've come prepared to state our arguments.
Okay, and you understand that we don't really have much choice in this matter?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Kevin Cahill, 26.
Just go to the microphone, please.
Sorry, yeah, my bad. Kevin Cahill, 26 Morton Road. I realize that's a technicality. I was ready to go. Actually, myself and Mitchell are both going through cancer treatment recovery. It's a big deal for us to come down through here. Took time off work, part-time right now. It's a very difficult situation. We're very stressed out. Just feel like we're ready to go. It's too bad that it has to be deferred. I understand it's a technicality. I respect the process. It's a sign in the door. They should have posted it. We feel like we were ready to go and we wanted our chance to have our shot at it.
I understand.
Yep.
I will, thank you very much. I will tell you that each of you will have another opportunity if this application makes its way back to committee.
Great, thank you.
Okay, online. Oh, sorry, one more. Thank you.
James Dan, I live at 21 Beck. I back on the house exactly the same thing as the
Okay.
two previous gentlemen, opposition to it.
Great, thanks for coming down. Thanks you all for coming down. Apologize for your inconvenience this morning.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we'll hear from the speakers online, starting with Anna Betancourt. Okay.
John Wethuser, you've been unmuted.
Good morning.
I have not chosen to speak today.
I'm sorry, say again?
I have not chosen to speak today.
Okay, thank you very much.
Next speaker is Gay Richards.
Gay Richards, you've been unmuted.
Good morning.
Perhaps she can't hear us. The next speaker I have online is Eric Vanderkoy. You have been unmuted.
Good morning. So I'm confused. Does this mean that this is going to happen at a later date, this hearing?
Yeah, it would appear so. If the applicant continues to require variances for their development, they will have to come back to committee and you and others will have an opportunity to share your views on this application.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, those are all the speakers that I have in attendance. If you wish, I can attempt to call in the other speakers that were registered to speak.
I think we're probably okay, and while we appreciate your input, as I've mentioned, this is pretty much a technical requirement, so we will proceed. Bring back Mr. Benkowski. Mr. Benkowski, are you there?
Yeah, hi, Mr. Chair. I do want to apologize to the neighbors. There was, I think, a little bit of confusion when the property owners were away and weren't able to post it. But I will use this as an opportunity to reach out. I did review their letters and there is contact information. So I will use this as an opportunity also to reach out to those adjacent neighbors.
And I think that's really appropriate, and quite clearly, there is a lot of anxiety and concern about your application, and I think when you return to committee, it might be helpful to have had those opportunities to consult with the surrounding neighbors and try to address any of their concerns.
Yeah, I agree, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'll need a motion on the deferral request. Is it here?
I move to have this application deferred.
Okay, for the reasons cited. Mr. Reed, second, and all in favor? You have your deferral. Thank you. Thank you for coming down. Okay, we move on to item number 2. Item number 2, 778 Windermere Avenue. This is an application to construct a new 3-story detached dwelling with a rear ground floor covered deck. The second story of the existing dwelling will be demolished and a portion of the existing ground floor will be maintained. Also, to construct a 1-story ancillary structure in the rear yard, the existing garage will be demolished. The committee has before it a copy plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 5 photographs of the subject property. There is a staff report from Urban Forestry, and there is correspondence in opposition from 784, 782, and 780 Windermere Avenue.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent here in person, and we also have registered speakers.
That's great, thank you very much. If the agent could come up to the podium, please.
Good morning.
Morning. If you could have your name and address, please.
My name is Tom Garzelli, 1045 Cherry Bell Road, representing as an agent 778 Windermere Avenue.
Okay, you have 5 minutes, sir.
Thank you very much, Chair and committee. I do understand that there is 3 opposition letters out there, 780, 782, 784. Those reside to the north of the property. Unfortunately, I do have 3 letters of support that did not make the deadline as of Monday. Going through the opposition's comments as globally, let's say, it looks like the look in the 3-story height is an issue for the residents and to the north. Also, the length of the design, the issue about sun and landscape at the back of the property. Also, drainage was also a concern of the 3 oppositions. I'd like to talk to those points there. First, it comes to the sun. This house is facing east and west, and what we have is the sun that obviously rises in the east and to the west. So with the structure being 3 stories in building height, on the westerly side, there would be ample sun at the latter part of the day. We do have the 3 stories, so the look and the 3 stories, so building height. Flanking parallel to the Windermere site, we have Drury and we do have there was Drury, sorry, and Willard. Both streets do represent 3-story dwellings today, single-family detached, something very similar to what we are proposing on the site. Across the laneway, and this would be on the Willard side, the address is 581. There is a 3-story single-family dwelling, detached, which can be seen from the backyard of my client. The length itself, we are keeping pretty much where the existing deck is today. The length is matching the length of the house to the south, which we do have support on, known as 776. And then the length itself, right at the end, there is a mudroom that's only 1 story, not a full 3-story appendage. As Ancillary buildings, the garage, there is an existing detached garage today, which will be removed. And we are putting together a brand-new garage at the back. It is still going to be detached. The minor variances are setbacks, floor areas, and lot coverage. When looking at the site plan, the two adjacent properties to the north and south, we are, again, following the footprint as best as possible to what was there, or what is there today, and to mimic what is to the north and to the south properties. The only other extra there is a 3-foot extension to the rear, and this is to accommodate larger vehicles today, such as your pickup trucks and your SUVs, as the garage today is quite short in length. In looking at Windermere, one of the things that does come up visually while I was traversing the streets to understand what the look is. There are many, many 2.5-story houses on this street itself, originally built. So by asking for a 3rd story and asking for a minor variance in keeping with the streetscape itself, it's not a street that, accommodates bungalows per se, and, this will be the, first 3-story building. That's all I have for now.
Okay, thank you. Panel, any questions before we go to speakers? I have a couple of questions. Just on the length, if you remove the mudroom in the back, what would the length of do you know roughly what the length would be? Like, would you still need a variance if you didn't have the mudroom on the back?
The answer is yes, because I fall into the 2 zonings bylaws. So the one is roughly 19 and the other one's 17. I would remove the 19 meter, but I'd still exceed the 17 meter.
Okay. Yes. The second question is, I was looking at the garage, and the height of the garage, it was in feet and inches. I converted it. I think I had it at 5.8 meters. Don't you need a variance for that? Like, don't you need a height variance? Like, usually the variance, or the bylaw requires that you have to keep it under 4 meters. And I'm a little surprised that you don't need a variance because it looks like storage or something.
No, there's
it's a car lift.
Parking.
So I was surprised that you didn't need a variance for the garage.
I asked the question at the time of PPR, our zoning review, and because there was a laneway house being constructed to the south, about 4 lots down, I think that variance has changed. I think that zoning requirement of 4 meters has changed.
Well, I'm a little surprised. I mean, I get that if there's a laneway house, but that's because you have accommodation in it. You're not planning to have accommodation in your...
No, there's 2 lifts inside the garage. So my client, he collects cars. And so he has a lift that's going inside the garage where the 2 cars will go into the garage. They'll be lifted, and then he can have 2 more underneath.
Right. So
the garage plans show that.
I remain a little skeptical on this one. And Sabrina, I don't want to put you on the spot, but that strikes me as being a little unusual.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I am checking the zoning notice that's online, and it doesn't refer to a height variance. In any case, if a variance is missed, then the homeowner would have to come back to committee with a new application.
Okay, thank you. All right, maybe we could go to our first speaker.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the owners of 780 Windermere Avenue here in person, so we'll call them up to the podium at this time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
If we could have your names and address, please.
Sure. My name is Anthony Chong. This is my wife, Natalie Chong.
Natalie Chong, thank you.
Our address is 780 Windermere. It's the property to the north of the proposed development.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair. Natalie, can I just have you sit on the other side just so you're in camera? Thank you.
Okay, so you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to talk. We've submitted our concerns via a document sent on June 4th to the Committee of Adjustments. The main thing, I think, in addition to what we assume this has been reviewed already, the main thing we just want to reiterate is that the city bylaws we feel that they've been put in place for two reasons. One, to protect the rights of the neighbours, and two, to ensure that the city's infrastructure is not compromised and can support any new developments that are proposed. So we feel that this proposal materially deviates from these bylaws. The height of the structure is 1.2 metres higher than the bylaws allowed, and this is already on top of a three-storey structure. The proximity of the house is extremely close to ours at around 5 feet. The height of the structure in combination with the extra length that we build, and we do want to clarify that both our houses currently are about 30 feet long. Their proposal is to extend the three-storey structure another 20 to 30 feet, I think up to 56 feet long. With the combination of the height and the length of the property, this is going to materially block a lot of our sunlight throughout the day that goes into our house, and also impinge on the privacy of our back garden. The other major concern that we highlighted in our letter was the amount of soft landscaping that remains after the building of the three-storey house and the two-storey garage. This proposal will leave only 37% of the property lot as soft landscaping. We feel this is not enough to absorb all the rainwater, meaning the potential to contribute to overflowing the city's stormwater system, as well as increase the risk of flooding to neighbouring properties. The bylaw states that 50% of the property should remain as soft landscaping. Allowing 37% is a significant departure from this. Quite simply, we feel that in the neighbourhood that we're in, where the houses are built extremely close together and the lots are very, very narrow, that these types of lots are not designed to be able to support the size of housing that is being proposed. While we understand minor variances may be accepted for a few centimetres to help facilitate the building process, we do not think that this proposal is even considering trying to build within the parameters of the bylaws. In summary, we hope you've read our submission and will consider the impact of the neighbourhood. We've included pictures of the current street in our submission. We respectfully disagree with the previous speaker in terms of the look of this proposal versus the other houses on the street. The other properties that he mentioned on Willard, one has a three-storey, but I don't think the footprint is that same length as well. I think they've just built it on the same footprint as the existing house and not added the other 26 feet, I think, that they're proposing as well. So I think that makes a big difference, because the length in combination with the height that's where we're finding the biggest challenge there. And I think the other pictures that we're showing just also show the impact on the privacy and the shade that will project onto our back garden, and also mainly to our neighbours to the north, who have also submitted concerns with the development. I welcome any commissions from the panel on any of the specific adjustments that we've objected to in our submission. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Panel, any questions? No?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, we can go back to the agent.
Thank you.
Okay, sir, if you want to come back.
The concerns are understood. They have been reviewed. When it comes to the height itself, again, we do address that there are similar homes that we are trying to build that are immediately adjacent to this project off of Windermere. Windermere runs north and south. We do have houses on Drury, 583, 535, 606. Off Willard, we have 624, 581. They demonstrate exactly what we are looking for to facilitate and accommodate the family requirements. The family is growing. These are smaller homes, restricted with side entrances, so the layouts are not great due to the fact that, you know, to get to the basement, they're just side-loaded. As for the concern of the length, once again, we are following the adjacent house to the south when it comes to the depth of the home itself. And then obviously how close it is to their home. This was looked at. It was looked at in detail. Unfortunately, because of the restrictions of the property itself along Windermere, here we have a condition where we're going up exactly the footprint it is today. So we do have a gable roof. We're going to be removing the gable roof and asking permission for that third story using the side yard setbacks and the front yard. The rear obviously is a three-story addition. And that, if the house is already set close to them, roughly about 5 feet, 6 feet, and we're going straight up, the condition was always going to be there. As for the landscape, because of the extension to the garage at the rear to make it longer to accommodate the cars that my client collects, it was an additional 3 feet, about 1 meter. And because of the addition to the rear, we ended up with the smaller percentage of landscape. However, again, looking at the house to the south, with its length and with the pretty much the same footprint of the detached garage, their landscape area is equivalent to ours being proposed today. Of the 11, I guess to conclude, of the 11 minor variances presented today to committee and reviewed by committee the last several weeks, 6 of those are of existing conditions. They'll talk about eavesdrops, they'll talk about side yard setbacks, and these are just things that have been triggered because of existing conditions of the dwelling, single-family dwelling today. That's all I have for now.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Panel, any questions?
No, thanks.
No questions? Okay, thank you, sir. We'll take this into committee.
Thank you.
Sahir?
Thank you, Chair. I think I'll start this off. I do have some concerns about this application, more specifically variance number 7, which is related to soft landscaping, the rear yard soft landscaping. And I think that variance is probably being triggered by variances 10 and 11, which I also find very problematic. The garage structure, there's a massing effect. It's not a residence, as was pointed out earlier. It's for cars. It's quite a rectangular structure. It's not set back as a laneway house would have to have some setbacks perhaps on the roof design. When I look at variance number 10, that's a full 25% additional floor area that's being requested. The variance number 11, that's about 30% additional request. So I find that very problematic. I find that difficult to support. So I do have concerns about this application.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Oh, Peter?
Thanks. I feel a bit more positively about this than Zahir, I think. I do have concerns with the height of the garage, as you mentioned, Larry, and I kind of think that will come up at some point later in this, but it's not before us at the moment. I think the garage is, the footprint of it does line up with the neighbors, and I think that from my perspective, that's okay. And I think the rear soft yard landscaping, the rear soft landscaping is, I think, kind of the best that it can be. The extension to the back of the main house will have impacts on the neighbors. I sympathize with that, but I think that the fact that there is the one-story mudroom that is set back from the north property line goes to lessen the impact of that. And without that, it's almost as of right. So I'm going to support it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'll just weigh in for my 2 cents. I sort of lean towards Zahir's perspective on this one. I am concerned about the impact of development on this property, particularly with the garage, although, and I do think there's a height issue. I don't know what the adjacent garage is like in terms of height, but the amount of floor space that it has exceeds, it's 10% allowed, this is 15%, so it's basically 50% larger than what the bylaw permits. So I find that, and I think that has a consequential impact on the rear landscaping, and I'm sympathetic to the northern neighbor who is concerned about light and impact of the massing on their property. So I don't think I can support this application as currently presented. So if there are no further comments, I'll look for a motion. Is there here?
I'll throw my 2 cents worth in, Chair. I'd like to, for the reasons I've stated earlier, I find this very difficult to support. So I'd like to move a motion to refuse this application.
The seconder? Paul? Okay, motion to refuse the application by Mr. Bayat, seconded by Mr. Gogan. All in favor? Okay, all opposed? Okay, the application is refused.
Thank you, committee.
Okay, we move on to item number 3, 513 Ossington Avenue. This is an application to construct a new 2-story detached distillery building, which is a laneway suite in the rear yard butting the laneway. An existing 4-plex dwelling will be maintained and unaltered. Committee has before it a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. Revised site plan received June 7, 2024. 4 photographs of the subject property. Decision number A0110/21TUI affecting the subject property. Correspondence from the agent and a planning rationale from planning consultant. We have correspondence from Transportation Services and a staff report from Transportation Services. We have a 1-signature petition in support from 519 Ossington. We have correspondence in opposition from 505 Ossington Avenue. Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Great, thank you. Okay, Mr. Ziemba?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members.
Good morning. Could we have your name and address, please?
Yep, I'm Raymond Jemba from SGL Planning and Design, Inc., located at 1547 Bloor Street, and I'm the agent for this file.
Okay. This is an almost as of right, except for the landscaping. We don't necessarily need a full presentation, sir, but I think we'd benefit from an explanation about the variance you're seeking.
Sure, I can provide a quick summary on that.
Okay, go ahead.
Perfect. So this is pretty much has one variance, and that is a variance in the rear yard soft landscaping to make 54% rather than 85%. This is really just the area between the 4-plex and the proposed laneway suite. And this is just a result of the existing required fire emergency exits on the 4-plex, which is, again, already has a building permit issued. And this is actually kind of recognizing an existing condition that was previously approved part of that building permit because of the existing garage that was there that has since been taken down. So the lane suite actually reduces the footprint a bit of that existing garage, and we're actually proposing additional landscaping on the east side on the laneway. On the east side of the laneway suite onto the laneway. So that's about 5.5 square meters, which is additional soft landscaping in the rear, but not counted to that rear yard because it's in between the laneway and the laneway suite. So this is really just a result of the existing condition, and I think the client has made the best efforts to improve it. And there's additional decks as well to kind of contribute to that private space amenity in the rear yard.
Okay.
So overall, I think this meets the 4 tests and represents good planning and provides a gentle form of intensification that is encouraged.
Great, thank you. Panel, any questions? Zahir?
Just a quick question. Did I understand correctly in my reading of the materials that the main structure is a 5-suite structure? In other words, there are 5 current residents, presumably, in that building?
It's a 4-plex.
A 4-plex currently. So
that's under construction.
And
within.
then, so 4-plex plus the proposed ancillary building.
Yes, correct. Plus the proposed laneway suite that is permitted as of right.
So my concern, of course, is that you've got a huge ask as far as soft landscaping is concerned. It's a 4-plex. I would imagine that they want to have some degree of soft landscaping for the residents that are currently in the building, and a reduction in the soft landscaping that you're asking for, I find it a little problematic. Just my observation.
I'm happy to respond if I can respond, or if I need to wait.
Please do.
Yes, so to clarify, thank you for your question. So the rear yard landscaping is actually provided, but the amount that is soft is hindered because of those emergency fire exits, part of the 4-plex. But in supplementing that rear yard amenity space, there are decks at the rear that have also been integrated with those stairs. So the intent of providing a private amenity space is still enhanced. It's just not necessarily all soft landscaping per the zoning. And then we're all, like I mentioned too, we're also enhancing, providing that additional 5.5 soft landscaping that improves the laneway, just kind of like what would have been the driveway from the laneway into what was previously a garage as additional landscaping. So they've really made an effort to provide as much soft landscaping as possible.
Okay. Sorry, Peter, go ahead.
No, you go, Larry.
I was just going to ask about the stairs in the rear that you are showing on the plan. So are those wooden stairs? I mean, I guess the question I'm getting at is rainwater able to kind of make its way down through those stairs or platforms into the ground?
Yes, they're. If you look in there are photos attached. They're metal stairs, and water could go through.
Okay, thanks. Peter?
Yeah, thanks. To the applicant, you noted that you're providing more than is required in terms of soft landscaping on the east side fronting the alley. Did you say 5.25 square meters?
When I did the measure, it was about 5.5 square meters.
5.5? Okay, and are you okay if this gets approved, if that is a condition of approval, that 5.5 meters be provided?
I think it would be better to tie it to plans because I just did an overlay, and that's why I'm saying approximately 5.5. So I didn't, I did that as a quick estimate on my own. So I think
it's just challenging because the plans, like, there's not really a landscape plan. The site plan's not showing landscaped areas.
I think tying it to plans would be better. I mean, I think you can say maybe 5 meters or 5 square meters, but I'd be hesitant to provide that as an exact number.
No, I understand.
5.5.
I understand. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, thank you, sir. We'll take this into committee. Who wants to start? Peter?
I'll start. Thanks, Chair. I agree. I mean, I wish that these applications could satisfy the soft landscaping, and it's a thing that we come up against often now, particularly when sites are being redeveloped intensively like this. But I do think that there is a benefit in having, you know, lots with 5 units through, and I think that that kind of variance, particularly if we can kind of make that the rear yard, the rear against the alley condition as green, I think that lessens the impact of it. So I think it's a reasonable application, particularly because all of the built form requirements of the laneway suite are met.
Thank you. Anyone else? No one else? Okay, then I'll look for Peter. Want to make a
Yeah,
motion?
sure. I'll move a motion for approval of the application, subject to the condition that a minimum of 5 meters of soft landscaping be provided to the rear of the property between the laneway suite and the laneway.
Okay, motion to approve with that condition. Do I?
Can I, yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, can I have a friendly amendment that also transportation have a condition?
Do that.
The report on June 5th?
Oh, sorry, that's right, the 0.37 meters.
Okay,
yeah.
so if that's
Yeah, pardon me,
accepted, then
thanks.
I'll second this motion.
Great. Moved by Mr. Reed, seconded by Ms. West. All in favor? Okay, opposed? So here is opposed. That motion carries. You have your approval, sir. Thank you, with those conditions.
Thanks, Nazila.
All right. Move on to item number 4, 30 Minto Street. This is an application to alter the existing 2-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a rear second-story addition and a complete third-story addition. Also to construct a new 2-story ancillary building containing a one-car garage on the ground level and recreation space on the second level in the rear yard abutting the laneway. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. A revised site plan received June the 5th. 2 photographs of the subject property and TRCA plans, permit letter, and permit received April 26th. We have a staff report from community planning.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Okay. All right.
Harjinder Singh, you have been unmuted.
Mr. Singh. Good morning, Mr. Singh.
Hi, Harjinder, we see you. You've been unmuted. Can you just speak louder into your microphone? Thank you.
Yeah, am I audible right now?
Yep, you just need to speak a bit louder.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, and I'm going to ask you to speak even louder if you might. We can barely hear you.
Am I audible right now?
Okay, that'll do.
Yeah.
Any louder would be even more helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, everyone.
That's better. Thank you.
Yeah. So we are presenting our minor variance application for the address 30 Minto Street, with our proposal being addition and extension on the existing dwelling and proposed garage area in the rear side of the property. And our variance is related to the proposed garage that is there with respect to our lot coverage that we're exceeding from as per the zoning bylaw, and with respect to our proposed height that we have proposed for this garage area on the rear side of the building. That's about it with respect to our variance, and we'd like to take your opinion on it.
Okay, thank you. Panel, any questions? Can you just explain what the requirement for the height of the ancillary building is?
Yes. The permitted maximum, the maximum height of auxiliary building or structure is 4 meters, and the proposed height of auxiliary structure is 4.5 meters, which we've proposed. And another variance that we are asking for is the permitted maximum lot coverage for an ancillary building or structure is 5% of the lot area, which is 7.3 square meters. The proposed lot coverage that we propose for our garage is 18%. of the lot area, which is 27 square meters.
No, I was more interested in like, what's the use of the building?
The garage.
Yes.
It's a vehicular garage.
So is it 2 stories?
No, it's just 1 story, but it has a height of 4.5 meters.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
All right. Panel, anyone else have any questions here? Oh, sorry, Paul, I didn't see you.
Okay. So it seems like all the variances are specific to the ancillary building only, not for the 3rd floor addition. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. It's only for the proposed garage, the ancillary building in the left side of the
And just
property.
to confirm, the ancillary building will have a height of 5.85 meters as per the zoning notification?
Actually, as per the latest zoning that we have received, and with respect to the planning comments that we had received later after our minor variance application, we have revised certain variances, and the latest file that we have sent has only 2 variances. That is one with respect to the lot coverage and the other with respect to the height. So,
Okay, so I'm just going to stop you there because I want us all to be abundantly clear about what you're asking for, because that's a pretty big change from what we have before us. So let's go through the variances. Variance number 1, is that still required?
Yes, the lot coverage variance is still required, yes.
It's still 18%?
Yes, that's right, yes.
Okay, so the next one, number 2, is the height variance, 5.85?
Yeah, we have made changes on this one. So right now it is 4.5 meters, the proposed height.
Sorry, you're proposing to change that to a height of 4.5 meters?
That's right, sir. Yes.
Okay. Number 3. So
No,
you're
we
eliminating
can-
number 3?
Yes, that's right. We are not going 2 stories right now. We have eliminated this variance from our application.
Okay, and variance number 4?
We have eliminated this too because we are not taking the 2nd story. We're not exceeding the area that is there.
Okay. Sabrina, did they submit additional material that had this in it, or is this new to us?
Through you, Mr. Chair. They did submit revised plans, so they're probably referring, or the agent should confirm that the revised plans show these changes. As part of the revisions, we also have to amend the purpose of application to read that it's a 1-story ancillary building containing a 1-car garage.
Okay, Mr. Singh, is that what Sabrina just said about changing the purpose? Does that reflect what you're asking for now? It is just a 1-car garage, and it's just 1
Yes, that's
level.
right.
It's 1 story.
Yes, that's right. Yes, that's right, sir.
And you submitted revised plans. Do those revised plans reflect what you've changed today?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Paul. I think that started that discussion.
So the elevation show an elevation of 4.35 meters as the height of the ancillary building, but you're asking for 4.5 meters?
I think, sorry to interrupt. I think we have submitted another latest set of drawings with 4.5 meters as height. And I think it was received by the Committee of Adjustment. We have received a confirmation email on that the drawings were received.
Okay, let's just, I mean, it's really important that we have the correct information and the accurate information.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it is under the very, very late materials, which the members wouldn't have received, so we'll have it presented on the screen. Is that what we have on the screen right now? Okay. And can you just zoom in just so that the members can see the 4.5 meters?
Okay.
So then these plans were submitted, I'll just get the date, sorry.
So is that a sloped roof then? It looks like, is this 4.35 on one side and 4.5 on the other? Am I reading that properly?
Yeah, so it would be the highest point,
So it's a bit of a shed roof then?
right?
Yeah.
So so these plans dated or received June 10th.
Okay.
If the committee is inclined to approve as amended with condition.
Okay. All right, and the planning condition is tied to these most recent plans, right?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe the planning condition was the June 5th
Yeah.
plans. So if they've been recently revised, then I would change the date to June 10th.
Right, okay. That's great. All right, I think we're clear on this one. Any further questions of the agent? Okay, we'll take this into committee. Who wants to start? Nazila?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question from Madam Secretary Treasurer. So we received the staff report dated on, we received it on 6th of June, and then it had a condition. So if we want to put the same, do we need to put the same condition with this revision? Or we can put the same condition and then stay attached to the revised drawings?
Through you, Mr. Chair, you can use this condition, but just update the June 10th date to match the most recent revised plans, or you can just impose your own condition to approve to site and elevation plans dated June 10th.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, anyone, Paul?
I'll move this application.
Okay.
That we approve it as amended. So with variance number 1 and the modification to variance number 2 to 4.5 meters as the ancillary building height, and with the removal of items 3 and 4. I don't believe there's any there's comments from TCRA, but nothing, no additional comments. And I do find it minor in nature. I think the proposed modifications, there are no variances for the proposed third floor addition. And I think it is, and they are, all the requested variances are minor in nature.
All right, motion to approve with the amended application.
Through you, Mr. Chair,
Are you
is
putting
there a
the
condition?
condition with respect to planning? So planning condition, but tied to the June 10th submission?
Thank you.
Okay?
And through you, Mr. Chair, the amendment would also reflect the purpose of application for the 1-story instead of 2 stories.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Seconded by Mr. Reed. All in favor? Okay, you have your approval. Thank you. All right, we move to item number 5. This is 100 Queens Park. Purpose of the application is to alter the existing institutional building, the Royal Ontario Museum, by constructing a ground-level canopy fronting Bloor Street West with front stairs, a ramp, and water features. Committee has before it a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 5 photographs of the subject property, covering letter from Urban Strategies, an additional correspondence and zoning map, proposed zoning map by Urban Strategies, previous decision number B0008/09 TEY affecting the subject property, and site-specific bylaw affecting the subject property. We have email correspondence from Transportation Services, staff reports from Community Planning, 2 staff report, TTC, Transportation Services, and Urban Forestry. Good morning.
Good morning.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, we did receive a very late revised report from TTC. We'll have it presented on the screen, and if committee is to approve the application on these conditions, then it would be dated for today's date.
Okay. Before you get started, have you guys seen this latest?
We have. Yes, we have.
All right.
And through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the planner here in person speaking on behalf of this application. No registered speakers for this item.
Good morning. If you guys could give us your names.
Good morning. I'm Lee McGrath, planner and partner at Urban Strategies. I'm here with...
Good morning. Greg Adams, architect from Hariri Pontarini Architects.
Okay. And you've seen all the various reports that we have before us, and you're comfortable with everything that you've seen?
I will get to those. I'd like to address them because we've clarified with staff a number of their comments. I think there was some confusion about the scope of this application, which really just has to do with permitting a canopy and only a canopy. And so we've clarified comments with urban forestry. We accept the conditions from the TTC. This is a condition related to a planning application. They've already provided clearance through an associated building permit for the remainder of the works for the ROM's project that the canopy is part of. And we also have confirmation from ECS that they no longer have any concerns. There was some misinterpretation of the drawings. But I'd be happy to walk through. I have a brief presentation. Just
if you wouldn't mind,
clarify.
I think it's a fairly straightforward, but given the complexity of all the comments and stuff.
It appears to be complex, but in fact, it is quite simple.
Okay.
And I think we've helped each other through that with staff. So.
All right, off to you.
Great. So you may be aware that the ROM is undertaking a modernization program to update certain interior portions of the museum, as well as improving some exterior elements to the public realm. And as I mentioned, this project is called Open ROM, and it's also been the subject of a building permit application that has been approved, signed off on, et cetera, save and except for the portion of the building that includes the canopy. And that was to allow us to come here to committee to seek the variance to allow this projection from the crystals. So among the improvements that are exterior to the building are the accessibility ramp, revolving doors, and the canopy. And again, it's just the canopy that's the subject of the minor variance. The canopy is intended to have two main functions. One is quite important, which is lacking from the crystals that exist there today, which is rain and snow protection and ice protection. The geometry of the existing crystals make it so that there's quite an impact on the public realm today, and the canopy will protect people from snow, ice, and rain. And also it's to mark the entrance to the building in a clear way. Over time, it's been found that people don't really know where the front door is, and so to improve the arrival experience, having a canopy to mark that is another improvement that's being sought through this project. So as I mentioned, the zoning relief required, if actually we can move along to the fourth, yeah, if you go back here, that's great. So we're just here related to the canopy, and we've bubbled that out there to show the extent of the canopy projecting from the crystals there, the Bloor Street entrance. There was a site-specific bylaw to enable the original crystals and the development in 2003, and a canopy of this nature was not anticipated at that time, so there isn't a standard for projection. So what we're seeking is to enable the canopy to project. Next slide, please. And then the canopy itself varies in depth because of the nature of the angles of the crystals. It's an overall height of 4.84 meters, and then the depth varies depending on where you are within the crux of those crystals, between 4 and 16 meters deep. The image on the top is as if you take away the crystals above it so you can see the full extent of the canopy, and then the image on the bottom shows how the existing crystal will actually project over portions of the canopy, so it's a bit of a three-dimensional expression there within the crystal. There's no projection into the right-of-way, which was the subject of the comments from ECS that was clarified with them, so they no longer have any concerns and withdrew that comment. And the canopy is fully within the property line. Next slide, please. So I believe, from a planning perspective, this clearly meets the 4 tests of the Planning Act, being quite minor and meeting the intent of the OP and the zoning bylaw, and it is a desirable change for the reasons that I mentioned with regards to marking the entrance and also for weather protection, and will contribute to a significant updating of a very important cultural landmark here in Toronto and Ontario as a whole. And we do note that there is a recommendation from planning that was provided to you that said that should the committee approve the application, that it be built substantially in accordance with the drawings, and we agree with that recommendation. I've mentioned that the ECS comments have been clarified. Urban Forestry's comments have been clarified as of this morning. They had inappropriately identified a tree being impacted by the canopy, which in fact it does not. They have clarified that via email to us this morning. And the TTC, we understand their standard comments related to the planning application. So we accept those notes from the TTC. So I think hopefully that clarifies things.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
that's all we have.
Any questions, panel?
Just a detail question. Where does water go? On the
Good question. There's a central column, and they all backfeed towards the central column, go down through the foundations.
Okay. All right then. Thank you very much. Oh, Nazila.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. Just a clarification regarding the urban forestry. I've heard that the applicant mentioned that because we have a report for condition number 2 urban forestry, and I've heard that this condition have been waived.
Yes, as of this morning, we've clarified with them there's no tree that they thought was being impacted.
So then,
Through you, Mr. Chair, I would err on the side of caution here. We can still impose the condition, and then it would just automatically get cleared before the building permit, just because staff haven't received that notification.
thank you.
We've all been there. I don't think there's a tree, but there's no trees there. It'd be nice to have a couple trees there, actually. But I think that's good advice, that if it's not
We
relevant,
understand that.
it will get cleared quite quickly. Okay. All right, let's go into committee. Who wants to take this? Peter will
Thanks,
take this
Chair.
one on.
I think this is a good application, a good project that improves the pedestrian realm and the accessibility of this. So I can see no negatives to approving the variances being asked for. So I move approval subject to community planning condition, urban forestry, and TTC conditions.
Okay. And there's no longer a transportation condition, right? So, okay. Seconded by Ms. West. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you very much. Item number 6, 464 COSBURN Avenue. This is an application to convert the existing one-story detached dwelling from 1 residential unit into 3 residential units by converting the attached garage into habitable space, and to construct a 1-story side addition, also to construct front and side covered porches with stairs, a rear covered deck with stairs, as well as front and rear basement walkouts. In addition, to construct a 2-story ancillary building containing 2 garden suites with a basement area and a canopy abutting LINNSMORE Crescent. There will be a total of 5 residential dwelling units on this lot. Committee has before it a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 3 photographs of the subject property, 9 photographs of the surrounding neighborhood of the subject property, covering letter from the agent, and decision numbers A0637/808 and A1387/22 affecting the subject property. We have email correspondence from Transportation Services and a staff report from Community Planning.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent here in person, no registered speakers for this item.
Okay, good morning, sir.
Good morning. My name is Trevor Gain. I'm the agent here on behalf of the owners.
Okay, I think we'll need a presentation on this one, sir.
Yeah, as you mentioned, this is sort of a double application. We have 2 structures that are going to be under construction. We have the existing bungalow, which will be converted into a triplex, and then there's a proposal for a new garden suite at the back of the property, which will house 2 units.
I don't want to interrupt you, but you realize that planning is recommending refusal
of the garden suite. Yeah.
Of the garden suite, yes.
We
Okay.
just
Do you want to address that in your remarks? That'd be great.
Yep, no problem. So continuing along, this is an investment property for the owners, has been for many, many years. There has been previous applications, as you noted, just basically the owners trying to decide what's the best way to develop this property to maximize use and income, and et cetera. With recent changes to the zoning bylaw and provincial impact, the housing mandates, we believe that this is a prime location for an application like this, that we can increase rental units without dramatic impact on the neighbors. Currently, there's 1 dwelling unit inside the bungalow. So on the site plan, the context, this is a corner lot at the corner of COSBURN and LINNSMORE Crescent. Directly across the street is a commercial property, 2 stories, mixed-use building, same kind of to the southeast, and then surrounding the property to the west and the north is single-family dwellings and a mix of 1 and 2-story dwellings. So there's 21 variances in total for this property. That's mixed up over the 2 proposals. There's 6 variances required for the triplex conversion, which is coverage, front yard landscaping, soft rear yard landscaping, roofs, eaves, which just is address the existing footprint of the bungalow and the projection close to the property line, and this new east side front porch. There's the rest of the variances are for the garden suite, which just include a unit count. We're proposing 2. 1 is allowed. Setbacks, massing, angular plane, height, some decorative canopy projections, and the size of it itself. So if I can get page 11 of it's my east elevation on the submitted plans. So the variances for this garden suite are basically generated because of this lot. This is a corner lot. There's flanking setbacks because we have properties to the north that front onto LINNSMORE. And one more page, 11, it should be the east elevation of the garden suite. Keep going. That's fine. So the dotted outline that kind of overlays on the structure, those are the existing setbacks and those are the angular planes. It's basically the size of a single car garage, 1 story. So any development in this rear yard, including the previous garage that we did get approved at this committee, which was a double car garage, included minor variances in just massing and size and setbacks. What makes this application a little bit unique is that when you drop the garden suite bylaw on top of this, we end up with these variances. But this is a corner lot. So typically their spatial separations and setbacks are kind of addressing because the garden suites are set up for mid-block houses. This is a corner lot. So everything is sort of addressed the street, LINNSMORE Crescent. And by doing so, spatial separations, overlook massing, and even soft landscaping is mitigated based on the large boulevard. Can you bring back the site plan, page 1 again? So this boulevard section, the dark kind of shaded area is our soft landscaping that we're proposing on the property, but there's another 5 meters of soft landscaping to the sidewalk. There's an existing double car garage at the back of the bungalow that will be converted to habitable space, so that driveway on private property and on the boulevard will be converted back to grass. So the only hardscape that'll come across now are just the walkways to service these units. So again, the spatial separation, we have 5 meters between the bungalow and the garden suite, which accommodates a 1-story structure, but for 2 stories, we need 7.5 meters. Again, mitigated because the orientation and the open side of LINNSMORE Crescent on the flanking street. So regarding massing, if I can get my submitted photos up, under supporting materials, I think it was submitted on June 4th. Yeah, thank you. So across the street, as I mentioned, is a mixed-use building, which is photo B. Actually, we got different photos. Anyway, so there's a mixed-use building, 2 stories. That building extends for about 30 meters from front to back. Our proposal is 32 meters front to back, which also includes that 5-meter separation. So the massing on this property is all pushed towards the back of the property. We're maintaining the bungalow status at the front, which continues along COSBURN, but at the back is the massing. So eventually, like most bungalows in East York, there will be 2-story structures to the rear. So what I'm trying to get at here is that I think our massing is not really out of character based on what's happening across the street and probably what's going to happen in the neighborhood as all these properties get developed. So just to wrap it up and to conclude, we do feel that this is an excellent opportunity towards the housing crisis as the introduction of 4 new dwelling units, 5 in total. Unfortunately, this does not fit into the mold of what a garden suite according to zoning bylaws and city planning. But given this is a corner lot, given it's on a major transit corridor, COSBURN Avenue, the proximity to parks and schools, the mix of 3-bedroom and 1-bedroom units, we think it is desirable. You just simply have to think outside of the box on this one based on its context because it has a great potential for positive impact on the community if you approve it today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Panel, any questions? You or your client have had discussions with the surrounding neighbors, have you?
We have, that's why we have no opposition. We vetted it all out and just told them what we're doing. Like I said, they've owned it for a long time, so they know all the neighbors quite well, and we have no opposition.
Okay. Any questions? No? All right. Thank you, sir. Take this into committee. Who wants to start this one off? So here?
Thank you, Chair. I'll just start off. I understand the explanations presented by the applicant, and however, I always feel that the planning staff have good reason for their recommendations, and I always err on the side of what our planning staff specialists would recommend. So I think I would prefer to go with planning staff and recommend refusal for this application until they sort it out.
Anyone else? Peter?
Thanks, Chair. I think there's a lot of good things with this application, but it feels like it's just too much at this point. And I think there's maybe a missed opportunity of, say, putting an extra floor on the principal house instead of adding 2 units into the garage. And I know that that has implications on the existing tenants and such, but I'm agreeing with Zahir. I think that I'm hesitant to support it in its current form.
Okay, thank you. I'll weigh in. I personally, I think there is a garden suite in this property's future. It may just be that it might be a little bit overly ambitious right now in terms of having 2 units within it, and the massing is considerable, and a revised proposal that might more appropriately fit in. I take your point. This is a good site for it. It's near transit, and there really isn't a major or dramatic impact on the area. But I think that planning staff are hoping that the committee tries to preserve, at least for the time being, the sort of integrity of what they're trying to get with garden suites. And this, as proposed, is just pushing those boundaries a little bit too much too soon. So I do hope you come back with a more modest proposal, but I'm going to agree with planning staff on this one as well. Okay, I'll look to a motion. So here.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move a motion to refuse this application.
Okay. Do I have a seconder?
One moment, Zahir, just as a point of conversation, planning staff recommended refusal of variances 7 to 20, so.
I stand corrected, absolutely, Peter, thank you.
Okay, so motion to approve this application, but refuse, amended application, but refuse variances 7 to 20.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Variance number 21 refers to bicycle parking space based on the ancillary building.
So it should go to 8 to 21? Okay. Do you want to amend that, Zahir?
Yes, absolutely.
So through you, Mr. Chair, then we're approving variances 1 through 6 and refusing variances 7 through 21.
That's correct.
So hold on here. So now that we are unpacking this a little bit, variance number 3 is with respect to rear yard landscaping. So is that relevant still?
Through you, Mr. Chair, you may want to come out of committee and speak to the agent about whether or not the variance is required.
Okay, let's go out of committee. If you can, Mr. Gaines, if you could just help us out here a little bit. I know it's not in your favor, but if you could help us out with going through variances 1 through 6. You've heard that we're likely to refuse 7 through 21. So if we refuse the garden suite, is variance number 1 still required?
Yes, variance number 1 is still required because that deals directly with the triplex, the bungalow.
Right.
The garden suite it's its own coverage calculation. Variance number 2 is relevant to the front yard of the bungalow as well. Variance number 3 is a combination of both applications. So if the garden suite is turned down, we will comply with the soft landscaping.
Okay, so you can remove variance number 3?
Correct. And then the roof eave is still relevant. Number 4, number 5, and number 6 are all related to the triplex.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. All right, we're back in committee. So, Zahir, do you want to take another crack at your motion?
Thank you, Chair. I'll try. So I'd like to move a motion to approve the application with the exception of variance.
Amended.
So the amended application with the exception of variance number 3 and variances number 7 to 21. I think that covers it.
Yes, that is it. Planning's condition are captured in the refusal of variances. All right, motion to approve this application, partial approval of this amended application by Mr. Byatt, seconded by Ms. West. All in favor? You have a partial approval, sir.
Thank you, sort of.
All right, we move to item number 7. This is 495 to 517 Wellington Street West and 510 to 532 Front Street West. This is an application to permit the undersized loading spaces in the parking level of a 15-story mixed-use building currently under construction. Committee has before it a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 5 photographs of trees on the subject property, covering letter from the solicitor received March 27th, a decision number B0038/19TEY affecting the subject property, a traffic brief prepared by LEA Consulting, presentation materials from the agent, and a site-specific zoning bylaws 592-2019 and 593-2019 affecting the subject property. We have email correspondence from Transportation Services, Heritage Planning, and an advisory report from Metrolinx. Good morning.
Mr. Chair, we do have the agent here in person, no registered speakers for this item.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Naomi Maris. I'm a lawyer with Aird & Burles LLP, here on behalf of my client, Portland Commons Nominee, Inc., the owner of the properties municipally known as 495 to 517 Wellington Street West and 510 to 532 Front Street West.
Great, thank you very much. It's a very, I think, straightforward application that has received, I think, the blessing of community planning. Does anyone really need a presentation on this one?
No.
I think we're okay with this one. It seems like a fairly technical variance that you're seeking. So, and it looks like you've gotten all the agencies on side. So I don't think we need a presentation today.
Understood, thank you.
Okay, so does anyone have any questions on this one? Okay, we have no questions. Thank you for coming down. We'll take this into committee. Peter?
Thanks, Chair. As you mentioned, I think this is, the materials provided were very clear and good in the explanation of this technical error that requires a variance now. And I think the LEA report is very good in terms of justifying why this is acceptable, and staff is on board. So I move approval of this one variance without condition.
Okay. Motion to approve by Mr. Reed, seconded by Mr. Gogan. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you. All right, we move to item number 8, 456 Roxton Road. This is an application to convert the existing 2.5-story semi-detached dwelling from 2 residential dwelling units into 3 residential dwelling units by constructing a rear 2-story addition, a rear 3rd-story addition with a rear terrace, as well as front and rear basement walkouts. Also to construct a 2-story laneway suite in the rear yard abutting the laneway. There will be a total of 4 residential dwelling units on this lot. Committee has before it a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a total of 3 photographs on the subject property, correspondence from the agent, presentation materials from the agent, and a rental housing declaration form. We have a staff report from Urban Forestry. We have correspondence of concern from Pamela Mills, no address provided. We have correspondence in opposition from 471, 454, 471 again, 460 and 452 Roxton Road, and we have materials in opposition from 458 Roxton Road.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online as well as 4 registered speakers in opposition
Great.
for this item.
All right. Mr. Wong.
Right, good morning.
Good morning. If you have your full name and address, please.
Sure. My name is Chris Wong from Exit Design Associate, 138 Margaretta Street, Toronto, Ontario, M6H3S3. I'm the agent for the property of 456 Rockland.
Thank you very much. Sir, we'll need a short presentation. We have some folks wanting to speak on this item.
Sure, of course. We can go to the next page, please. Currently, 456 Roxton is a 2.5-story residential property located south of Bloor and east of Ossington. Has a 1-story addition and a garage at the back. There's a lane at the back for vehicular access. It has currently 3 residential units, one bedroom unit on the ground floor, a 3-bedroom unit on the 2nd and the 3rd floor, and a basement unit with direct stair access from the front yard. We're proposing 2.5-story additions at the back with a 3rd half floor and a terrace facing the backyard. And we're also proposing a laneway suite in the rear yard abutting the laneway. There'll be a total of 4 residential dwellings on this lot, replacing existing 3. Here are some of the massing views. This is one from the backyard. The red, of course, is the proposed. And then the next page will show the views from the front, which we are keeping pretty much as it is. Next page, please. The proposed ground floor and basement will be 2 separate 1-bedroom units, highlighted in green, while the 2nd and the 3rd floor will be a 3-bedroom residential unit. And the laneway suite is a 2-bedroom unit. These will all be purpose-built rental units, aiming to supply the much-needed rental market in the city. Access to all these units are all from Roxton Road, except the laneway suite, of course. Also, given its proximity to the Bloor subway line, the owners committed to only rent to people that do not own cars, so we do not intend to add any additional parking load to the neighborhood. Currently, we are seeking 3 variances. The first 2 are related to the percentage of green space on the front yard, and the third one is related to location of the stair to the basement unit, which is also at the front. All 3 variances are pre-existing. If you go to the next page, please. As you can see from the survey on the upper left, the current front property line lies at the extent of the front step, and the majority of the front yard space is occupied by the existing porch and the existing stairs. And the current stairs to the basement is at 0 setback from the side lot line. In the proposed scheme, which is the image at the bottom left, we have reworked the stairs to make it code compliant, but the 0 setback is a pre-existing conditions. Also, from the existing photographs, you can see the current front yard has 0 soft landscaping. We do intend to provide as much green space as possible, but as you can see, the porch and the stairs occupying the major part of the front yard, given where the property line lies. And then the areas that are left are the green, which are highlighted and which will be planted. Also, we intend to add a large planters between the front property line to the sidewalk. If you go to the next page, you see the next rendering. But this is outside of the property line, so technically the area doesn't count. There's a total of about 14 square meters, which is larger than the zoning requirements of the 12.63 square meters. Lastly, we also want to indicate that we intend to respect the heritage characteristic of the existing buildings that make up the unique streetscapes of Roxton neighborhood. And so we intend to keep the front facade as close to the original as possible, except with new glazing and bay window upgrade, as the building is currently having some moisture and thermal insulation issues. That's it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Panel, any questions? Okay. Oh, so here?
Just a quick one. On the 3rd floor rear, there's a terrace. I was just looking at I can't quite tell, perhaps I'm just not reading it accurately, but I believe it's on the east and west sides. Is there overlook over the neighboring properties from that terrace?
Currently, the north side has a terrace. I don't know if the south side has one. But the terrace is, the north side terrace is if you see on this page, actually go back this page. You see the north neighbors, the extent is sort of east of the new extent of the terrace. If I explain that correctly, I'm sorry if that's confusing in my wordings.
I can't quite see it, but
Okay, like you see the north neighbor?
this is on the right side of the image, right?
The top of the image.
Why don't we pull up the rendering? Can we pull up the rendering in the presentation materials?
Sure.
Yeah, the 3D model rendering. I think that shows it a little bit more clear. Yep, just a little bit further down. There it is.
Yep.
So I think, so here your question is respect to what looks like a terrace in the top floor, is that?
I think so, yeah. And I think, is it on the second floor, not the third level? Or is it the third level? It is the third level.
The terrace is on the third floor for our proposal.
So it looks like there's a wall there.
Okay, there's a wall on one side. Is it a wall on both sides?
There's a sort of setback on the south side.
Okay.
So there's a kind of almost like a bit like a light well kind of scenario.
So there shouldn't be any overlook issues?
No.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything for Peter?
Just one thing to the agent. There, as you know, there's a lot of neighborhood and neighbor concern, and their concerns are generally about the built form. But I'm just confirming that all the extension in the back and the laneway suite, those are as of right.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right, if we could have the first speaker.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm going to ask those that are here in person that wish to speak to this item, one by one, come up to the podium and introduce yourself, and then you'll each have 5 minutes to speak.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. My name's Howard Monroe. I reside at 460 Roxton Road. We have some concerns about this renovation, and I get that the city's trying to increase the density in the neighborhood, and this house has been derelict for a long time, and I totally support the renovation. We do have some concerns about the landscaping reduction on the proposal, and the proposal to decrease landscaping from 100% to 51.8% and 75% to 20%. And this raises a lot of environmental issues, aesthetic issues, privacy issues for the neighbors, concerned about that. The agent did say that there's a lot of concrete in the front, but you know, the rules for landscaping, the rules for zoning are put in place for a reason, and I get that. You know, if there was a pole in the way, if there was some, you know, crazy thing that you needed a variance for, that's not the case with this building. Rules are rules. As citizens of Toronto, we have to abide by these rules. Your job as the Committee of the Adjustment is to uphold these rules. We would like to see further landscaping. We're also concerned about the trees that are on our property, the trees that are on 454 property. We're concerned about the safety of these trees. Just at the end of the pandemic, we lost a 24-meter spruce tree in our backyard due to contractor negligence. The tree blew over. They cut a root of our tree. It blew over. We had to have it removed. The city was no help. No help. I will be contacting a lawyer if something happens to any of my remaining trees. And I think we need to have some provision put in place for the trees. also concerned about the density increase. I get it. We're trying to maximize use and income, as some of the other professionals have stated here. 4 units in this building, but it's absent of parking. The agent goes on to say that they're going to rent to people who don't own cars. How do you police that? How do you police that you, oh, sorry, I'm not going to rent you because you don't have a car? Well, people, we were already facing parking issues on the street, absent of any parking, cars or bicycles. Quality of life. Proposal of changes is going to alter the neighborhood whose residents or families with young children. Noise levels are going to increase. We're looking at these decks on the roof with noises. It's a neighborhood of families. Yes, I get it. We're trying to increase the density, but to the detriment of people, longtime residents within the neighborhood. And finally, community rules. As I mentioned before, we need to abide by these rules. We need to abide by the rules that the city has put in, the zoning rules, and this is your job as the Committee of Adjustment to uphold these rules. And I see so many times that always it falls in the developer's favor, and it's up to you, on you. And in order to maintain civil order within the community, we need to have sets of rules, and you need to uphold those rules. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm not going to get into a debate about the role of the Committee of Adjustment, but we're actually here because there are situations where there needs to be some flexibility built into those rules, where context applies and where it might be appropriate to allow certain activities to go beyond the current zoning bylaws. So the other thing I would just raise for you, I know the agent's going to speak to this, but with respect to soft landscaping, this is an unusual property that has the lot line almost right up to the porch line. But I think I heard the agent say that they plan to plant on the City Boulevard portion of the property, which I think might help address some of your concerns about the soft landscaping.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, next speaker.
She had a question.
No, just.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have a question, Isabel?
Yeah, no, I just want to double check one thing to you, Mr. Chair. So just want to know that the neighbor's address is 460, correct?
I'm at 460,
460, because you're talking about the tree condition of 454 on the south, so I just want to double check.
Yeah, there's a tree on 454, and I also have a tree on 460, a very large tree on my property that I'm very concerned about.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. All right, if we could have our next speaker, please.
Good morning.
Good morning. If you have your name and address, please.
My name is Alicia Stefurek. I'm the owner of the triplex at 458 Roxton Road that will be directly impacted. We share a wall. So I've been an owner of the property since 2010. It's currently a multiplex housing divided into 3 residential units. I was providing drawings from 1996. The 3 units are contained within the original envelope of the building built in 1904 and meet the requirements of the FSI Floor Space Index prior to 2023. Over the last 14 years, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars updating each unit, the kitchen cabinets, flooring, and fire safety, and most recently, just during the pandemic, I updated all the electrical service, furnace, windows, hot water tank, as much as basically possible the conditions at the time. The proposal directly affects me. So the 3-story addition basically blocks the entirety of my roof deck on the 3rd floor. If you look at my corresponding, I submitted a whole binder of drawings, so you'll see all the views from the 3rd floor. It's a 3 bedroom unit, So that is the main attraction, that it has outdoor space now. There's going to be a 15-feet wall, 40 feet long. There'll be no light to the bedroom, no light to the roof deck, making it basically useless. It'll decrease my rent, and also it'll decrease the value of the property. Also, the two-story addition will also block all the natural light to the kitchen window of that unit that's on the second floor. So, I mean, after all the hundreds of thousands of dollars that I put in, I invested basically for a retirement in 1 year, or they purchased this property in 2023, most likely going to sell it after the construction's finished. It's going to directly decrease my income, decrease the value of my property, and negatively impact my financial status. So I urge you to, are you able to bring up my supporting documents, my binder?
Yes, we can.
You can get the views from the roof deck. So basically, it's going to be people looking at a blank wall.
You got it, Wilson?
If you look at their massing model, I'm not sure what time of the day that massing model was produced, but basically the entirety of all my landscape, my garden, the roof deck will be in shade most of the year. And interesting enough, when you ask about privacy issues, so they're going to completely block my third floor deck. But what they've done is they extended the building so their roof deck doesn't get any, isn't obstructed and gets entire views of the over neighbors. So there is direct overlook. And interestingly enough, they put in a solid wall around their terrace so they get complete privacy while we get overlooking. So they've blocked my entirety of my roof deck and extended beyond it so their tenants get the benefit and get increased rent. That's my garden that I've completely landscaped. That'll all be dead because there'll be no sun. That's the roof deck. So that's one window for obviously the two buildings are similar, they match, they're built at the same time. That there's going to be no light, no view, no sun. And of course, I'm almost positive that the roof deck will be damaged, the basement will be damaged. Anyway, that's it. So. There's also, so basically it's a rental unit, so during the construction phase, there'll be noise, there'll be dust, and then it'll be difficult to rent. What I feel is that it's been a rental property for 30 years, so basically my tenants, the people living in my multi-unit will get diminished services, and you're prioritizing people that are building after 2023 when the zoning changed. If you look at the massing model, that really shows what a negative impact of the massing model A300 really what it means. So basically, I mean, that's it there. But basically, the whole entirety of the roof deck, window, everything, all be in shade. As you know, this is directly south, so we do get some in the east, but because of big massing now, we'll get nothing. There's a window, and then there's that large tree. So really, severely impact, and I'm not sure who's going to pay for a 3-bedroom unit that had a roof deck with no sun or fresh.
Ms. Mills, I'm going to have to ask you to kind of wrap up your remarks. You're over your 5 minutes.
Okay. So I think basically that's my concern. So, there's a number of issues that I would like to see if they could address. Maybe soundproofing in the walls. For the last 2 weeks, there's smoke alarms being beeping, and my tenants been complaining about the noise, so that's how much the noise is. I'm wondering if they can create glass around their terrace, so at least there'll be some more light passing through, and if they can maybe possibly shorten the building additions.
Okay, ma'am, I'm going to draw that to a conclusion. Thank you very much. Anyone have questions? Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Anyone else speaking on this item? You, sir?
Yes, indeed.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Michael Jansen. I live at 452 Roxton Road and have lived there for 36 years.
Thank you for the opportunity to support democracy. I'm not going to mince my words. This proposal is outrageous. It favors the developer who has no vested stake in the neighborhood. He will get all of the upside financially, and we will get only downside. He has only a positive externality. We have only a negative. Specifically, my concerns include privacy. From his deck, there are already 2 decks close to my house that have a direct sight line into my yard. This will be the 3rd deck. And let's be clear, rooftop decks are discretionary. There will be a reduction in front and backyard area, which is substantial, and it flies in the face of city bylaws. Bylaws are laws. I looked this up in the dictionary. The proposal asks for an increase. The agent says from 3 units to 4. As long as I have lived at 452 Roxton, there have only been 2 units in that place. I mean, how many people are going to occupy this property? He says that they're only going to rent to people who don't own cars. Well, we don't know. You can't get rid of tenants once they're in. They have to do something egregious, okay? There's already a shortage of short-term parking. I've observed residents of Ossington Avenue parking their vehicles on Roxton. I mean, we cannot sustain this greed-motivated over-large development. Further to that, the agent mentions that he will plant on a, quote, city boulevard, unquote. There is no city boulevard. It's the house, a sidewalk, a narrow curb, and the street. There is no boulevard. We're concerned about potential noise and garbage and littering. I mention it because I've observed it in neighboring places. More people means more garbage and more noise. Okay? This place could very likely become an Airbnb or a short-term rental. We have no control over this. This is going to put even more people in the neighborhood who have no vested stake in the neighborhood, and more noise, more garbage. As Howard mentioned, there are 2 mature trees. One is at 454. It's a big tree, and one on Howard's property. If a root gets cut and the tree dies, or branches are cut and the tree dies, sure, the developer's going to have a fine. Is that the cost of doing business? I'm very concerned about the Laneway House. The Laneway House next to my place at 450 was a 3-year project. The noise, the dust, the impact on laneway traffic, like a cement truck ran over the apron in front of my garage, cracked it to pieces. I had no redress for this, no matter what I said, whatever, and I can't afford to launch a lawsuit. Okay? Furthermore, where are all these construction vehicles going to park? How can people get into their garages with these construction vehicles? Just the other day down the street, there was a big cement truck. Nobody could pass. And on top of that, even if you can, these vehicles very often get in the way of people maneuvering their own cars to get into their garage. Okay? If these big vehicles park on Roxton, what kind of impact is that going to have on traffic, particularly on garbage day? We're not responsible for the housing crisis. That's on government. It's not on us. Okay? And like I said before, the developer has no vested stake in the neighborhood. He will finish the project, wash his hands of it, and move on, while we all have to live with it. Like, this is just not right. And I'll end with this. Would any of you want this happening next to your house or next to your mother's house? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe that's all registered speakers here in person that wish to speak. We do have one person online, so at this time we'll unmute Pamela Mills.
Hi.
Oh, I'm sorry.
May I start?
Yes, hi, good morning. If you could give us your name and address, please.
Sure, it's Pamela Mills. I'm at 454 Roxton Road, so I'm the neighbor south of the house in question. I do have some photos that I did send in that maybe help while I'm speaking. We have obviously many concerns, some of them which have been addressed already. One item in particular is the property line. It seems that it's going on top of it and in some cases actually over it. In particular, the second floor addition would go over into our property line, but the build itself is crossing it over or touching it a little bit more than I think is probably allowed. The tree has been mentioned as well. We do have a substantial tree in the back, and I am somewhat concerned about how that will survive all the backyard renovations that would be there. As you can see with this photo, this is the garage that we currently have. I'm not sure, based on the designs that have been put forward, how they would plan on building it without knocking into our garage and possibly damaging it. As an old garage, and any kind of shifting or hitting of it would probably damage it and not allow it to work properly. So there are some concerns of how close they want to build it. In regards to the laneway house, as I mentioned, we are concerned about the touching of our current garage. The eaves trough that is there, I don't know if that's actually been taken in consideration. It is a small lane that we go into, so anything that goes out would make it very difficult for us to pull into our small garage that we do depend on, though, for parking. And of course, the addition itself is probably our biggest concern. If there's some photos down there where we did some mock-ups of what we feel, it would basically essentially put a wall into our backyard. As you can see here, our view into the backyard would remove most of the green that we can see. It would be, look, for many of the windows that we look at, most of our windows do face west because we are a very narrow property. And so basically any window that I would be looking out would be looking out onto walls, losing a lot of the green open space that we really quite enjoy. As you can see here, it would take up a lot of our light, which we're very dependent on. We have a little bit of light that comes on in the morning, but we're very dependent on the late afternoon, evening light that enters into our house so that it isn't constantly dark. So as you can see, this would be from upstairs. The addition that they want to build outwards would take away pretty much all of our view of the back and block off all that light. There's another picture there as well that just shows from another perspective. So this is at the very back of my house. So right now, we look out onto green, to our tree, we have light that comes through. Essentially, we would be, again, just looking into a wall, taking away a lot of our privacy. Our property is small, so that feeling of open space would be taken away as well, we feel, with a massive wall up beside it on all levels. And we just feel that 4 units on this very small property does feel like a lot into the neighborhood. Guest parking, even if the tenants themselves adhere to the rule of no parking, people will come and visit. It's already so difficult just to even have anyone come visit us and try to find parking. Many times they have to go 2 or 3 streets over in order to be able to visit us. Just going through my notes. I think those are the main concerns that we have. It's really about privacy. It's about the light that we're going to be losing. I am concerned about our tree in the back there and the beautiful green space that we depend on, and we use our backyard the minute it gets nice until the minute it gets too cold. So those would be my main concerns about just living so close here. It is a family home that we live here with my husband and our 2 children. And it is basically, our major investment that we've had in to date. And I will touch on, since the owner is here, that there is a smoke alarm that's been going off and beeping that I can hear from my backyard as well. So that would be amazing if it could be addressed outside of this actual experience, because I had no idea how to reach him.
That's great. Thank you very much. Panel, any questions? All right.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we can go back to the agent.
Okay, Mr. Wong.
Hi.
You've heard a lot of concerns. I wonder if you could try to address some of those.
I have. First of all, in terms of the smoke alarm, I'll contact the owner right away and get them to turn it off. I'm not too sure which one it is, but we'll rectify this immediately. In terms of the other concerns, for example, some of the major ones like the concerns about light, sun, view, we are for some, we're all located on the west side of Roxton Road, so every property do receive western sun, and of course, views to the north side. So for our north neighbors, yes, we do block a portions of it, but at the same time, the amount of light that you can receive from in the afternoon is still there. We're not blocking any of that. And to our south neighbors, I understand that there's going to be a wall built up to it, but with all due respect, we are working with the as a right conditions, and these are pertaining towards the length and the setback of the proposal, which at the moment is has gone through the SETI applications, and with all due respect, that's not the variance we are seeking right now. In terms of the noise, I understand there will be noise during constructions, and we will stick to the schedule as allowed by law, and to try to minimize any kind of inconvenience it may cause. Three, of course, is a concern for our neighbors and also for ourselves. So we have an arborist on board, and we will follow all the instruction from urban forestry, which I believe is number 1 and 2 conditions at the moment. Parking, as I said before in the presentation, the owner is committed to rent to people that do not have cars. There was a concern about how we enforce it. I mean, I believe the owner will have to, at least it was used to be, in order to get street permit parking, the owner have to write a letter indicating there's no parking provided on site. And so by not doing so, and they won't get any permits for parking, and then there's the, so we'll do our part to only rent to people who have that do not have cars, and given the proximity to the blue subway line, I think we are aiming for that kind of market. Also, in terms of with the neighbor 454, the property line issues, we're currently working with our surveys. Everything is fall within our property line. I understand there's some concern as the eavesdrops that might potentially be encroaching in, I don't know whose property line at the moment, but we will work together with the neighbors to ensure that we won't damage theirs, or if we do, or for whatever reason it is, we'll come to we'll fix it back up for them, or we come to agreeable conditions with the neighbors. I think that's most of it.
Okay, thank you. I have a sort of a technical...
Sorry, one more thing about the landscape. As I said before earlier, this site is unique in a way the property line comes all the way up to the porch. So there's very little areas for us to do landscape, but we are committed to do landscape outside of that line up to the sidewalk, as you can see from the images and the site plan. So sorry about that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. If we could pull up, oh, you've got it up, A100. That's exactly what I was looking at. I'm looking at the southerly border. First of all, it does appear, at least from this rendering, that your structure is painting outside the property lines a little bit on the proposed second-story addition. So
I would have it as a graphic thing, but it shouldn't be.
Sorry, say again?
I wonder if it's a graphic issue, like the printout of the heavy.
No, I think you're going to have to resolve that boundary issue. But also, you're building the second floor or second two-story addition or second floor addition right up to the property line. You don't require a setback? I mean, it just strikes me that, there is typically setback provisions between you and
from the
454. I appreciate that that's not a variance before us. I'm going to check with Sabrina to double check the zoning notice, but don't you require a setback for that? And it looks like as well for the laneway suite, you've got an as-of-right laneway suite, but you're right up to your property line on both sides. Is there no variance required for either of that?
We do not receive any variance on both situations.
Okay. I mean, we don't have that before us, so the zoning examiner hasn't identified that as a variance, so it does seem odd. Anyways, thank you. Panel, any questions? Zahir?
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to come back to, thank you for the explanation with regard to the front yard soft landscaping issue. Just looking at your presentation materials, I come back to the question I had earlier, and that's to do with your third floor terrace. From what I can see from the 3D rendering that you've got, the southwest image that I can see, it looks like you've got overlook. There's overlook on both the north and the south sides. So my...
we are interested in, we can do a privacy screen if that's...
yeah, I think that would be quite important to have there. I think one or more of the people in opposition did raise that as a concern. So I'd like to add a condition that privacy screening be provided on the north and south sides up to 1.5 meters.
Okay, yeah, we can certainly do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Paul?
My comment just, when I was surprised that there was no setback for the garden suite on the north and the south. And I think the graphic issue, it's when you have common walls on attached buildings, the building, but once you leave your attached portion, then you have to comply with the building setbacks and property line as well. So I think you should look at the graphic, at the way it's drawn, because the way it's shown is you're extending walls that are currently common forward, which won't be common in the future. So you should, again, I think you should look at that going forward.
Yes, we will. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. But in the future, it will be all within our property line. Sorry about the graphics.
Anyone else?
No, thanks.
Okay, thank you, sir. We'll take this into committee.
I'll kick it off.
Sure, Paul?
So this is an interesting situation where a lot of the comments we received from all the neighbors, which we welcome and we're glad that they participated, relate to what seem to be as of right conditions. So we appreciate that feedback. It's always good for an applicant to hear that feedback, but what we're talking about today is about the landscape for the front yard. The landscape is unique in the sense that it's effectively very close to the property line. So I would move that we approve this, these variances that are requested. We can't guarantee that he will landscape the front on the city property, but it is suggested that he will. But I think the variances are minor in nature for the landscape for the three variances, and with no...
It's forestry 1 and 2.
Forestry 1 and 2, sorry, thank you. So with condition, forestry condition 1 and 2.
Okay, motion to approve this.
Sorry, Chair, if you might add
The friendly amendment from Zahir about privacy screening?
on the north and south side.
North and south?
I believe it's both sides.
The only thing I would say about the north side is that I think the neighbor there was concerned about, having a tall fence on that side. Because her tenant was concerned about loss of light. So I wonder maybe translucent on the north side and no, I'm sorry, we're in committee. So translucent on one side and opaque on the other side.
Or just translucent on both.
Or translucent on both sides.
Both sides.
Yeah.
Might make it easier.
Yeah, again, for light. Okay, great. So are you okay with that, Paul?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, motion by Mr. Gogan with conditions forestry 1 and 2 and translucent privacy screen on both sides of the second story terrace. Do I have a seconder? Is it here? All in favor? Opposed? Nazilla is opposed. I would, before we, I would just caution the applicant to double check with the zoning commissioner about the side yard setback issue, because I just think it seems unusual, given our experience, that in most cases, if you're going property line to property line, you usually need some sort of variance from the setback bylaw. So you might want to just double check that. Okay. Everyone okay? Anyone need a break? Okay, we'll take a 10-minute break.
Members, if you can turn off your videos and microphones, please. all caught up with applications taking in for July now.
Oh, really? So it's fast. Yeah, there was one I said I don't want to go that quick. Yeah, we submitted last week and they said July 14th. Did you hear from Anita at all? Okay. She's not watching and going, look how fast you're moving.
What is she doing?
Yeah, exactly. No, whatever you're doing, it's working.
No, it's good. Yeah, we got rid of the backlog. And now we're just doing what applications as they come in and fitting in those that get postponed or deferred. Yeah, oh, definitely. Yeah, and we're getting a lot of emails. So our hearings are not because this is the only. Well, we do 3 to 4 hearings a month. Like in July, we have 4 hearings. Just so that we can filter through and not get back.
Time off, hopefully?
Hopefully.
In the summer or no?
Yeah, I'll take a week.
You know, it's like more than a week. I'm bored. I need to rest. My wife always says, let's go for 2 weeks. I go, 10 days max.
I know I can't do that.
I can't do that.
I'm always on that. Because it's like, okay, can we fit one more?
Right. You want to do it. You used to do it, right? I know. I'm curious how Anita's doing because she moved. Like she moved like fast on everything and she worked hard. And then she went to not working. It might be hard. Like mentally. I emailed her. Like I had her private email. I emailed her. I haven't heard back. She might just want to be with us. She's okay.
All right.
Cool.
See you guys.
Yeah, on Baldwin. What are you here for? Baldwin. Oh, I meant Brand Drag. You went opposite. Most people leave them opposite. Like it?
Are we good? Good to go? All right, welcome back, everyone. We continue with item number 9, 68 LINNSMORE Crescent. This is an application to alter the existing 2-story detached dwelling by constructing a front ground floor addition with stairs, which is actually a partial porch enclosure. Panel has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 3 photographs of the subject property, 4 photographs of neighboring properties, decision number A1167/14TEY affecting the subject property, and a tree protection plan.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Thank you very much. Good morning, sir.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Mehrtad Alai, AMA Design, and my address is 213 Northwood Drive. And I'm agent talking on behalf of the client.
Thank you, sir. Just hang on a sec, panel. This is fairly straightforward. Does anyone need a presentation? Hold on. We've lost a member. Hang on a second. We will hold on until we get...
Through you, Mr. Chair, we can proceed.
We have quorum?
Yeah, we have
Okay.
quorum.
All right, sir, we don't need, this is a fairly straightforward application. We don't need a presentation. We've read all the material for this file. Is there anything you'd like to share with us before we take it into committee for a decision?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, panel. Very straightforward. Peter?
Thanks, Chair. This is an extremely minor variance that's being requested, just a partial enclosure of an existing porch. And there are many examples of this throughout this street and surrounding streets, and there's no negative impact from it. So I move approval without condition.
Okay, motion to approve by Mr. Reed, seconded by Mr. Byatt. All in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
We move on to item number 10, 131 Baldwin Street. This is an application to construct a 3-story, 8-unit townhouse condominium comprised of 2 north-facing townhouse units along Baldwin Street and 6 west-facing units accessed through a public laneway with rooftop decks above each proposed unit with stairway access enclosures on the roof and ground floor patios for each unit. The existing 3-story office building will be demolished. Committee has before it a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 4 photographs of the subject property, cover letter from the solicitor received May 10th. We have staff report from Urban Forestry, and we have correspondence in support, which is actually withdrawal of previous opposition from 129 Baldwin. We have a correspondence of concern from 125 Baldwin and correspondence in opposition from 129, 118, and 127 Baldwin.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have Adam Brown here in person, and we do have 1 registered speaker online in opposition.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. I'm joined by my co-counsel, Sean Brown, who did all the preparation work and all the letters that are on file. If we can go to the slides and start just with the, probably the overview. I have them, and I can put them on this as well, if that works. And while we're getting that, this process began in about 2021. Meetings with city planning staff. Because it's not subject to site plan approval, planning staff wanted to get a lot of the details done up front. We did a complete revision to the proposal, which resulted in a number of revisions, which I'll take you through. If we go to the next slide. So this shows you just the location of the site, and what you can see is we're abutting the lane that separates us from sort of the commercial characteristics on Spadina. The property goes through to Darcy to the south, and that photo shows you a previous infill development just right at the corner there at the edge of the lane on the other side. And if we can get to the, and then one other thing to note on the aerial, it's not a typical single-family area that you'd see in other areas. Most of the backyards are paved with parking garages and pavement. It's not typical, and or buildings there, and interspersed throughout the area are apartments and close-knit 0-meter setback buildings. If we go to the next one. So this is taking a look up the laneway, again, looking at the building that's there. And what you'll note is this has been a commercial building for many years. It virtually covers the entire lot. So the density of that building is about 3 times the area of the lot. Our density of this infill will be about 1.79 times the area of the lot. So we're actually under what the historical density was. And as you can imagine, a lot of the densities of the buildings in the area and the commercial around there are much higher than what we have here. The next one. So what we're trying to do here is show you some of the technical nature of the variances. And what we've learned in dealing with this with planning staff, the infill housing, laneway housing bylaw that has been attempted to somewhat make it simpler to go through the process hasn't hit all of the standards. For instance, when we look at the envelope right now compared to the old envelope, we have setback variances despite the fact that we have better setbacks than pre-existing buildings. We have landscaping that we provided between the building to our east, whereas previously none was provided. We have setbacks that relate to roof enclosures, I'll show you in a minute, that talk about main walls, but it's not really main walls, it's just roof enclosures so that we can have access to a rooftop amenity area. We have, as part of the design here, at-grade patios, which again are slightly above grade, which is a design feature that we worked on with city staff so that we can provide the landscaping separation, again creates variances. We have the width of dwellings, which are slightly narrower than what's required at 5 meters, again, allows us to get 8 ground-related units, which fit quite nicely. We enclosed our garbage storage area that we were asked to do, and what we also did is originally we had 1 unit facing onto Baldwin. We were asked to make that 2 units and do some landscaping in the front, and there's a tree planting that we've agreed to with staff. If I go to the next slide, What's important here, and in response to some letters we read, and we met with neighbors, we called neighbors, but it's not always easy to read online the plans, but we explained to them. One of the neighbors backed off, who's right next door, after understanding this. Those planter boxes are landscape screens that are adjacent to those properties. So I did point out to you that a lot of the backyards are not typical backyards. Nevertheless, people wanted to ensure there is privacy, and planning staff asked us to agree to proceed in accordance with these plans with planter boxes so that you're stepped away in terms of that outdoor area and that you have a nice buffer of landscaping as a screen. So we've agreed to do that. Staff had asked us to do that as a condition, so what I would ask, if you deem this worthy of approval, that it would be substantially in accordance with the plans, particular regard to those planter boxes for a privacy screen, because it was something that was important to planning staff when we negotiated through the process with them. And then I was just saying to you, the separation between buildings of 11 meters, that's just for the stair enclosures. That's not for the actual building. So it's sort of an odd variance to be seeking. And if I go to the final slide, this shows you that the overall height is actually under what's permitted. The only additional height is related to those protrusions to get up to the rooftop, which again are set back nicely and screened. So we think this is exactly what the laneway housing initiatives have intended to do. One of the neighbors that we met with said, can't you do a higher residential apartment building? And the answer was no. We don't have that size of lot to do that. And number two, our client was really committed to providing ground-related housing and taking advantage of the laneway housing provisions. And to be quite honest, we met with planning staff who were quite happy with this scheme after we revised it from the original one back in 2021. Those are our submissions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Panel, any questions? Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we'll hear from the owner at 127 Baldwin Street.
Daniel Ma, you have been unmuted.
Hi, thank you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. This is Daniel from representing 127 Baldwin Street for my mom's property. So basically, it's like we're with the rooftop that they're building. There would be 7 of 8 rooftop that's going to be a building terrace facing to the east, right? That will be overlooking to everyone's backyard. So I believe that privacy will be pretty much like compromised on that, with a lot of balconies. And in terms of having like a rooftop balcony, that just creates more noise pollution in the area. And also, sorry, I'm just going to my notes. For the variance, like on the platform of the wall, I believe that it was attached with a 0.3 meter of building, but right now the rooftop is located at 2.18 meters from the rear of the south side, right? And 9.2 from the side of the west lot.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically with all this balcony and all that, it kind of breaches privacy where, you know, there's kids playing, people gardening, lounging in the backyard, any gatherings that we can have. I guess like when people build fences is to have privacy, but now this like overtowering building kind of overlooks everyone's backyard, invasion of privacy on that.
Okay, so your concern is about setback and overlook from the rooftop terraces?
Yes.
Okay.
Balcony-wise, yes.
Anything further?
No.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
No other speakers?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we attempted to contact the person who was going to speak in interest at 129 Baldwin Street, but they haven't responded to our communications.
Thanks, Will. All right, back to you, gentlemen.
So 129 Baldwin is the gentleman we met with, so he seemed to be satisfied, and I think he withdrew.
Okay.
I think we've addressed the overlook, and planning staff had us do that up front by providing the privacy screens and the landscaped rooftop areas, and I would urge you to put that, especially based on the comment raised by that one property owner 2 away, that will address that issue. I think this is a really good example of a modest infill under the density of what's there today. but provides ground-related housing in a pretty sensitive way. And I thank staff in the planning department for working with us, and some of their suggestions actually made it a better development, so we appreciate that.
You sound surprised.
I'm not surprised. They worked well with us. They drew it. They literally sat there, like there's an urban designer, Leo DeSorza, who used to do that up in North York, and he'd take out his trace paper and he'd draw, and they drew it, and my client said, it's better. And the architect said it's better, so it worked.
Thank you very much. Panel, any questions?
Just a quick question about the laneway. Like, it's nice to see the sidewalk being put in there, and it becomes more of a formal front door. Is that the norm we're seeing now for when we're facing laneways? Is it becoming quasi a street? Or?
So I've done one other infill that's similar to this, and we did do the other, we didn't have the space, so what we did is we agreed to work with the city to do interlocking on the public laneway, but we needed the city to agree. On a lot of the taller developments that I'm doing now, we just did one yesterday, and we're doing a walkway connection that acts as a driveway as well as a walkway. So we have bollards put up, but with a continuous look that can be removed for emergency services. So it is, and it's something that has to be done, because if we're building in a tighter environment, we got to do it. And it's not that hard to do.
It's actually a good safety.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's great. Okay. Let's take this into committee. Zahir?
Thank you, Chair. I'll start off. I think this is a really interesting project, given the existing structure and the proposed changes. I think it's a really, really interesting one. I'm also very glad to see that there's quite a bit of setbacks on, I believe, both north and south sides. The one concern the consistent concern that seemed to have come forth from the residents on the north side, if I'm not mistaken, was privacy issues.
Yeah.
Or east side.
East side, yeah.
Privacy issues, and I think both the setback as well as the planter boxes that are going to be placed up on the rooftop will certainly mitigate that issue. So I think this is a really, really good project that I would support without hesitation. The only condition, I believe, is forestry number 3.
And I'm just going to go out of committee for a second. You suggested tying it to plans?
Substantially in accordance with the plans with particular reference to the planter boxes. I agreed to do that with planning staff. I thought they would have sent a letter asking for it, but I agreed to anyway, so it should be there.
Through you, Mr. Chair, for clarification, I would suggest site plan, elevation plans, and the terrace plan.
Yeah, that's
not floor plans.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion.
Perfect.
All right, motion by Mr. Byatt with those conditions. I have a seconder by Mr. Reed. All in favor? You have your approval. And I would just say, I think this is a very commendable project and very appropriate development, much needed in this area, and well done.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members.
Okay. Item number 11, 202 Robert Street. The purpose of the application is to alter the existing 2.5-story townhouse dwelling by constructing a rear 3rd-story addition, also to convert the existing side basement walkout into habitable space by removing the stairs and constructing a new roof with skylights. Committee has before it a copy of planner survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 6 photographs of trees on the subject property, and we have 3 form letters in support from 112 Harvard, 204, and 157 Robert Street.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Okay. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, committee members. My name is Joseph Sayateki of Strata Design and Development of 158 Beach Avenue in Toronto. I'm representing the homeowners of 202 Robert Street in the application. I'm unsure if you want me to do a full presentation. It's a fairly straightforward application. We've reviewed it with the planner, the city planner. They identified they didn't have any concerns with this. both adjacent neighbors have been contacted, and the surrounding area has been contacted. And my clients have actually executed full party wall agreements with both adjacent neighbors as well.
Okay, hang on a sec. I don't think we need a presentation panel, but does anyone have any questions? No, we don't have any questions. Okay, sir, we've read all the information. We've got the material you submitted. We're familiar with it. Panel doesn't need a presentation. Is there anything you'd like to add before we take it into committee for a decision?
No, just mainly the fact that the building depth is mainly related to the existing footprint of the building right now. There's a very, very minuscule increase to it just for cosmetic and aesthetics of how we would deal with the rear material change on the elevation. The increase is about 27% greater than the current FSI of the building right now. So a lot of this project has been based on the existing conditions of the home, with no impact to the front elevation at all of this property.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. All right, let's go into committee. Nazila?
Yes, if my colleague doesn't have any further question, I'm ready to put forward a motion. Through you, Mr. Chair, I would like to put forward a motion to approve this application with no condition.
All right, motion to approve by Ms. West, no conditions, seconded by Mr. Bayat. All in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you. Item number 12, 66 Hilton Ave. This is an application to alter the existing 2.5-story detached dwelling by constructing a new attached two-car garage fronting Nina Street. Also to construct a 2-story addition above the garage with a raised deck and stairs, as well as a 3rd-story dormer. Further, to reconstruct the front porch and stairs. Committee has before it a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 9 photographs of the subject property, covering letter from the agent. We have reports from Transportation Services and Urban Forestry. We have correspondence and support from 66 Nina, 76A Hilton. We have a 7-signature petition and report from owners occupants of 65, 70, 74, and 86 Hilton, 49 and 68 Nina Street, and 64 Hilton.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Great, thank you. Good morning, sir.
Yes, I guess good afternoon now.
Oh, it's 1 minute afternoon.
Sorry.
You are sharp, sir. Okay, your name and address, please.
My name, Hector Portalance. My address is 978 Plantation Road in London. And I'm here representing my clients for an addition to 66 Hilton Avenue. I'd like to start with saying that some of the variances are due to existing conditions, notably number 2, number 5, and number 6 are existing conditions to the house, and we're not doing anything to worsen those conditions. It's a very tight lot. We only have a couple of feet, actually a little under 2 feet from the main wall to the property line, which is what's causing the major concern, which is I believe the gross floor area. I'd like to note that we are in fact reducing the length of the total. There is an existing, by the way, there is an existing 2-car garage, although we're demolishing it and reconstructing. And by doing that, we're actually shortening the house by about 4 feet, so 1.2 meters. The design also removes a raised platform, which is created by the existing garage roof that overlooks into the neighbors. So that's not going to be the case any longer. The platform we're talking about is simply a deck off of the rear of the house, basically at ground floor level. Along the south side, it's a corner property, so there's actually quite a bit of side yard, except that it's mostly a city side yard. But it does give, quite a bit of green space that is used by the residents. Along that side, we're lowering grades because they're quite a steep slope. And by lowering the grade and lowering the grade of the existing driveway, we're mitigating a lot of the rainwater issues and stuff running out into the street. We'll be containing that much more appropriately onto our property. I believe our proposal is greatly improving the aesthetics on that side of the house. The existing house needs an upgrade. I do believe that it's giving us a much better curb appeal, if I might, to that side, and which is also beneficial to that neighborhood. Because of a small lot, it seems like we're asking a lot, but the addition and stuff really, when you look at it with the city property, it is quite in scale with what is around that neighborhood. There are several additions in and around that are as large as what we're asking. That right across the street on Nina, number 64 Hilton, although it's all new construction, it was a tear down and rebuild. The volume of the house, the length and the height are very close to what we're proposing. So again, I believe it's in scale and keeping with the neighborhood. I'd like to note also that the existing house is already at 93% of the lot area. So there's not much we can do that won't, there's nothing we can do that won't exceed the gross floor area. The driveway width we're exceeding slightly simply because by lowering grades along that side, we're creating a couple of retaining walls. And in order for 2 cars to park and have doors open, we need the extra width. The rear deck width, we're exceeding slightly on the side yards by simply aligning with the existing house. The bit of property that we're taking up would not really be of much use. We're having the stairs off the deck heading south, simply to maximize the use of the small backyard and to give better access down to Nina Street. The reason for the addition is that this is a growing family and they do need the additional space. I welcome questions.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions? Is it here?
Thank you, Chair. Just one quick question. There's a deck at the rear of the first floor on the, I believe it might be on the south side, south side?
North.
Or it's the north side that might require a privacy screen? There might be overlook over your neighbor's property?
Yes. We have had a discussion with the owner and I, and in fact, both for the benefit of the north neighbor and for their own privacy, we've decided that should be a privacy screen. So yes, we agree to that and would welcome that to be one of the conditions.
Sorry, I had difficulty hearing you at this end, but...
He's good with it.
He's good with it. Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, any more questions? All right, let's take this into committee. So here.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is a very reasonable application. And I think the explanation about variances 2, 5, and 6 add to my, or reduce my concerns at all. So I'd like to move approval of this application with just one proviso, that the rear deck, the north side of the rear deck be provided with a privacy screen of 1.5 meters.
There is a forestry condition.
I'm sorry, I must have missed that one. Forestry 1 condition, thank you.
All right, motion to approve by Mr. Byatt, seconded by Mr. Reed. All in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you. All right. We move on to item number 13, RAVINA Crescent. This is an application to alter the existing 2.5-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a rear third-story addition with a walkout balcony. There will be a total of 3 residential units on this lot. Committee has before it a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, an arborist report received April the 11th. Correspondence and support from 1 RAVINA Crescent and 24 Hunter Street.
For you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm Rainer Hoyer, the agent for the applicant for 13 RAVINA Crescent.
Okay, hang on a second, sir. Panel, only one variance, fairly straightforward. Does anyone need a presentation on this one? I think, sir, we're okay. We've read all the information you've submitted. We're familiar with the material. We don't need a presentation. Is there anything you'd like to share with us before we take this application into committee?
I don't think so. Everything is clear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're in committee. Anyone? Oh, Peter?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I think this is a good application. The variance is very small. It's just over half a meter, and the addition to the house is just popping up the 3rd floor, filling in part of the attic, and that's set back from the rear walls of the neighbors. So I think that the impact of that is essentially nil. So I'm happy to move approval without condition.
Great. Motion to approve by Mr. Reed, seconded by Ms. West. All in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you very much. Item number 14, 7 Butternut Street. This is an application to alter the existing 1.5-story detached dwelling by constructing a front 2nd-story addition, a rear 1st-story addition, a rear 2nd-story cantilevered addition, and a rear ground floor deck. Committee has before it copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 6 photographs of the subject property, an arborist report by Davy Resource Group, presentation materials from the agent, and correspondence and support from Tamara Jordan and Daniel Bernstein. No address provided.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Okay. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Shahid Danavati, and the address is 1304 Woodbine Avenue, Toronto.
Okay, thank you, sir. Panel, does anyone need a presentation on this one? Again, only 3 relative, I'm presupposing, but relatively minor variances. Okay, sir, we have read all the material you've submitted. We're familiar with the application. We don't need a presentation on this one. Is there anything you'd like to share with us before we take it into committee?
No, please go ahead. Any questions, I'll answer.
Okay. Panel, any questions? Okay, let's take this into committee. I think, again, this is fairly straightforward. Paul?
Yeah, I'd say that this is like, I always like seeing uses of homes where they're making slight adjustments to make them more compatible with kind of modern living. And so I do find all the variances minor in nature. They seem to be sensitive to the neighbors and the existing context. And they did a very good job presenting their application. So I propose we approve this variance.
No conditions.
There's no conditions.
Unless you wanted to put one on.
No, I don't.
Okay. All right, motion to approve by Mr. Gogan, seconded by Ms. West. All in favor? That's unanimous. You have your approval. Thank you. We move on to item number 15, 24 REDNOR Road. This is an application to construct a new 2-story detached dwelling with a front integral garage, a front covered porch, a rear ground level deck, rear basement walkout stairs, and an entryway, and a rear 2nd-story balcony. The existing rear yard wood deck, detached shed, and detached garage will be demolished. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevation, 6 photographs of trees We have staff reports from Community Planning and Urban Forestry. There are 7 form letters in support from owners, occupants of 10, 11, 23, 26, 33 Rednor Road and 495, 508 Plains Road. There is correspondence in opposition from 31 Rednor.
Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair and the committee. I'm not the agent, I'm the owner.
If you could just try and speak up a little bit, we're having difficulty hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
That's much better, thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm the owner, I'm not the agent, so I'm presenting in behalf of myself. So if you need the presentation, I can go through, but...
Panel, short presentation on this one? No? You're okay? Thank you, sir. We've read all the information. We don't need a presentation today. We're familiar with your materials. Is there anything you'd like to share with us before we take this one into committee?
For sure, regarding the objection letter, so I didn't have a chance to speak with a neighbor there. Rednor is a very small street, so I had the chance to speak with almost everyone except the neighbor who wrote the letter. Is very general concern, but I think he spoke with some other neighbors, and pretty much on that street, everybody was on the supporting side for the new house.
Have you've seen Community Planning's report recommending permeable pavers?
Yes. So we had correspondence with the planning department, and I'm fine with their request.
Okay. Peter, did you have a question?
That was my question.
Okay, sorry. Zahir?
Yeah, just a couple of quick ones. I just made notations. Second floor balcony rear, and there's a rear deck that looks like it's a raised deck. Would there be privacy issues there that may require privacy screening?
You want me to answer? So I spoke with both side neighbors. They had no issues regarding that, but if it's required, we can put the privacy screen there.
It might be useful because if your neighbors move at some point, the new owners would may have issues.
Yes, no issues regarding that, though.
Okay, thank you. And the other question I just had was variance number 4. Is that an existing circumstance, the 75 to 50% soft landscaping?
Yes.
Okay.
That's an existing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Thank you, sir. We'll take this into committee. Look for motion, Ms. West.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, I would like to put forward a motion to approve this application with the staff condition that the driveway shall be installed using interlock permeable pavers in the report dated June 4th, 2024, and also subjected to urban forestry number 2. And because the neighbors are agreed on both sides, I don't want to put any privacy screen on the balcony. That's my motion.
Motion to approve with those conditions by Ms. West. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Mr. Reed, all in favor? That's unanimous. You have your approval. Thank you. Okay, we move to number 16, the last item of the morning session. This is 21 Lockwood Road. This is an application to alter the existing 2-story detached dwelling by constructing a new rear ground floor deck with stairs. The existing rear deck will be demolished. Also to construct a new 2-story ancillary building, garage with a laneway suite above in the rear yard of the property abutting the laneway. Committee has before it a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. An arborist report received April the 3rd, presentation materials from the agent, and correspondence and support from 19 Lockwood Road, next door neighbor.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Will Hudson of Hudson Architecture. I'm the architect and agent for the owner.
Okay, perhaps a short presentation, please.
Absolutely. The proposal before you today is for a new or replacement rear deck and a laneway suite. By proposing those two, we've provoked 4 variances. The first of which I think is pretty straightforward, which is that on the laneway, we're not going to have any landscape. In the support material, you can see the existing condition for the neighbor's garage at number 19 doesn't have any landscape. And in the context of the laneway, I just think it doesn't make sense to have any. I don't think it would survive. And with respect to the bylaw, we've done other laneway suites that have had a landscape strip, but I don't think this one is a good candidate for it. The second variance is for the setback to the laneway. Again, using its context and the fact that the neighbors at number 19 have a garage that is set back exactly the same amount that we're proposing to do, I think provides a kind of sensible precedent for our setback. It also allows us to maximize the landscape, soft landscape component in the back garden as much as possible. The third variance is for the deck. We'd like to match the neighbors to the north at 23 and take the deck to the property line. My clients would feel that would be useful. It's in keeping with what's been done on the other side. They've had conversations with that neighbor and they're on board with what they would like to do. And variance 4 is largely provoked by the deck and its height above grade. So this big tree, spruce or pine, I'm not sure, but we'd like to take the deck as close to the spruce as we can, or the tree. And we've been talking to forestry. We have an arborist report. And again, it's not a huge deck, but it becomes functional for my clients to put a barbecue on and have a table and an area to eat. The neighbor to the south, my clients have been great. They've talked to both neighbors. The client, the owner at 19, who has the garage, is supportive. And I believe 23 is also supportive. There are just issues they'd like to discuss about fence lines and the relationship of the proposed new deck and their deck. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Panel, any questions? Peter?
Thanks, Chair. I just want to confirm underneath the rear deck that you're constructing, is it permeable surface underneath that?
It is. It's just going to be used for bits and bobs for gardening. I've shown access doors to get under there, but yeah, the intent is it would be soft surface beneath there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Zahir?
Sorry, perhaps I'll just leave this as a comment when we're in committee rather than.
All right.
Here.
Anyone else? Okay. Thank you, sir. We'll take this into committee then. Zahir, do you want to say something?
I'll just start with my comment. I think variance number 4, I believe it is, the soft landscaping request. And I appreciate the fact that there may be permeable materials below the deck, but they don't qualify as soft landscaping as far as I understand. I have difficulty approving variance number 4. The idea of matching your deck with somebody else's deck doesn't negate the fact that you're asking for a variance that'll continue in perpetuity. So I'd like to, I would suggest to the applicant that they actually scale the deck back a bit so that that variance isn't as substantial as it presents itself. And I think that's the one I have an objection.
Did you want to come out of committee and put that to the applicant?
We could do that if the applicant may be willing to entertain that.
Okay, let's go out of committee. Mr. Hudson, did you hear
I did. It was a
Mr.
little
Byatt's
broken up.
comment?
I did. It was a little broken up and hard to hear, and I appreciate the concern. I think the one variance that's listed, so variance 3, is for the side of the deck. It's not for the length of the deck, as in the length into the garden. It's the width across the property. As far as variance 4 goes, respectfully, I'd be reluctant to change it too much. My clients are really only asking for 9 feet of usable deck area. The other areas are kind of tucked on the return side around the current addition that they have. So just a 9-foot deck is a pretty modest deck. And I may have misspoken or been misunderstood when I say that they were matching the neighbor in terms of the size. Their deck is actually quite a bit smaller. I meant only in width, that they would like to go as close to that north side as they could. In other words, a 0 setback. But and we can't go further down the garden because there's a huge tree. You know, I'd hate to trip the application up on these 2 variances, but again, I don't think it's an egregious land grab. If the deck were lower, it wouldn't be considered as part of the, or it wouldn't be deducted from the soft landscape area. So the fact that their lot drops to the back makes the deck count or isn't counted in the lands or soft landscape areas. So I'm open to suggestions from committee to it, but I mean, realistically, in order to put a table on a deck, you need 8 or 9 feet. So it'd be a pretty minimal compromise that I think would be fair to my clients.
Okay, and you, in response to Mr. Reed's question, you confirmed that you know, this is going to be a wood deck and water would be able to go through and there is permeable material underneath that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Happy to, if that needs to be a condition, I'm absolutely happy for that to be added.
Okay, any further questions?
Just a comment.
Paul?
Again, for the new addition in the back, I'm again always surprised I don't see a setback requirement for that building.
I think it's because it's indented by both sides. Right? It's almost like a little mudroom off the back.
Yeah, it's existing too.
No, I'm talking about the laneway suite itself.
Oh.
There's no setbacks to the property line for the laneway suite. Obviously, off the laneway, there's a setback. Anyway, I'm making a comment.
Okay. Yeah. All right, let's take this back into committee. Thoughts? Peter?
Thanks, Chair. I think this is reasonable. I mean, I share Zahir's concern, and I think there probably could be a few square meters shaved off of the deck, but I don't know how much of a material change that would make to the kind of the impact, the environmental impact of what's being proposed. I think it's reasonable, and I think that it's admirable that they've designed the laneway suite to fit within the variances. I'm going to bring forward a motion to approve the application because I think the variances are minor, but I would add a condition that the ground or the surface underneath the rear deck be constructed or be of permeable material.
Okay, motion to approve with that condition. There are no other conditions. Do I have a seconder? Ms. West? All in favor? Zahir, you're opposed?
Yeah.
Okay. You have your approval with that condition, sir. Thank you. And with that, we'll conclude the morning session. We return at 2 o'clock. Thank you all.
We can turn off our videos and microphones.
Do we have 1 hour and a half?
I should have talked longer. I should have stretched this out a little bit.